Hey everybody, so I know it's been a really long time since I've made a video, and I was kind of going over some ideas in my head on what I wanted to do a video on. And I had recently tweeted out about my new piercing, and I received a lot of questions from you guys about it, and people wanting me to share my experience with the piercing. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer your guys' questions, the most frequently asked questions. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. If you do have any more questions you want me to answer, you can just put it in the comments below and I'll answer all your questions. So if you don't already know, the piercing that I got is the VCH piercing, which is the vertical clitoral hood piercing. It is a female genital piercing, obviously, so if you're not into that or you don't want to watch a video on that, then you can always X out, that's fine. And I'm just going to get to the questions because there's actually quite a few of them, and I don't want this video to be super long. So the number one question, which is pretty much everybody asks about every piercing, is, did it hurt? I'm not going to lie, it did hurt me quite a bit. It hurt me more than it probably would have hurt the average person, just because I had myself so worked up about it and I was not able to calm myself down and let my body relax for the piercing, just because I had a really bad experience with the piercing the day before and I was pretty traumatized about that. So going into this piercing, I was terrified. But as soon as the jewelry was in and everything was done, I was able to sit and stand and walk, and there was no pain, there was nothing. The hurt went away right away. What's the healing time like? The healing time, they like to allow 4 to 8 weeks for healing, just in case. They like to give you that extra time. Everybody is different. I got this about 2.5 weeks ago now, and there's no pain. I forget that I even have it. It's not swollen anymore. I can touch it, it doesn't hurt, like it did for the first week and a half. And because it's only been 2.5 weeks, of course, I'm not going to try and change my jewelry or anything like that until after the 8-week mark, just so that I don't risk losing the piercing or having the piercing get irritated or anything like that. So everybody's different, but they like to allow 4 to 8 weeks for that. A lot of people ask me, sorry, I'm reading off my notebook, so if I'm looking this way, it's because that's where my paper is. A lot of people have asked me, does it catch on clothing or underwear, or does it easily snag on anything? I personally haven't had a bad experience with it snagging or catching on anything. I guess I would say don't try and wear anything, like for underwear, don't try and wear anything lacy and tight because it could snag. It has the potential to snag. You just have to be aware of your piercing at all times and like keep reminding yourself that you do have it. So that you can be more careful. I personally haven't had an issue with that. Another big thing that I've read actually a lot about is a lot of people have problems when they get out of the bath or the shower. It snags on the towel as you're drying yourself. The easiest thing to do is pat it dry. Don't wipe or rub it at all. Make sure you pat it dry so that it dries that way and it doesn't really risk snagging on your towel. Make sure your underwear or clothing doesn't have any loose threads or anything that it could catch on, and you should be fine. What kind of jewelry do you get pierced with? Normally you get pierced with a 14 gauge curved barbell, unless you specifically ask for the ring style jewelry, which a lot of people like. It wasn't for me. I personally got pierced with a 14 gauge straight barbell. I haven't had any issues with it at all. When I do change my jewelry out in the 8 weeks, I plan on getting a 14 gauge curved barbell with gems. It's just my personal preference. I really don't like the look of the ring style, but some people do, but usually you get curved, or depending on who you go to, they like to pierce you with a 14 gauge curved barbell. It just allows for easier healing, and less irritation. So yeah, that's just what I've found out, and personally, I haven't had any problems with the straight barbell. I thought I would, but I haven't. How long do you have to wait before you have sex? A lot, like so many people ask me this question. I don't get to see my boyfriend very much. I get to see him on weekends. I personally waited 2 weeks before doing anything, just over 2 weeks. So, I mean, everybody's different. I guess if it doesn't hurt, then you're not going to have a problem. Just be gentle and, like I said, be aware of your piercing at all times. And obviously, whoever you're with, your partner is going to know about the piercing and isn't going to try and be too rough on it, especially at first. You shouldn't run into any problems. Like I said, if it hurts, just don't do it. That's all I can say. Like I said, I waited 2 weeks and haven't had an issue. So everybody's different. Just go with your gut. You know your body best. If it doesn't hurt after a week and you feel like you want to try it, go ahead and try it. If it hurts, don't do it. That's all I can say. Do you lose feeling down there after the piercing? Going into this piercing, that thought never even crossed my mind that you could be desensitized and you can lose feeling down there. About a week and a half into the piercing, I was getting really frustrated because I thought that I was losing sensation down there. I thought that I was desensitized somehow, but in reality, I was worrying myself about, like, I was so scared to touch it or anything like that because I didn't want to hurt it. I didn't want to touch it the wrong way and end up hurting myself because it was a fresh piercing. So, the fear of hurting it actually basically desensitized me on its own just because I was so scared to hurt it. But, I waited a few more days and everything's fine now. I can move it around, I can touch it, it doesn't bother me at all. And I definitely didn't lose sensation over it. I haven't really heard of too many people that have lost sensation over it. Because you are piercing through the hood tissue, you're not actually piercing through the clitoris itself. If you were to pierce the clitoris itself, it's 50-50. You can lose sensation down there, definitely. But as far as what I've been through, I haven't. Not at all. And the piercing, the VCH piercing is supposed to enhance sexual arousal and everything like that. And, aside from the healing, because when it's a fresh piercing, you are scared to hurt it and it is really sensitive. But yeah, I haven't had an issue with that. Just be gentle and be aware of your piercing. Can any woman get this piercing? I was worried at first that I wouldn't be able to get this piercing because of body type or whatever. I didn't know. So I had called a couple piercing places and asked questions, and they said, it doesn't matter on your body type at all. It doesn't matter if you're 100 pounds, if you're 300 pounds, 400 pounds. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter on your body type. All that really matters is the hood tissue. Now, they have what's called the Q-tip test, and I'll put a link in the down bar for you guys to go check it out if you want to. Basically, you use a Q-tip or a cotton swab, and you put it up in your hood and underneath your hood. And if the end, the tip, like the cotton part of the Q-tip, is completely underneath there, then you probably have the sufficient amount of hood tissue to get the piercing. Some women just don't. Some people don't have the tissue needed down there to get the piercing, in which case there's always other genital piercings you can get if that's something you're interested in. But no, not everybody can get it. I'll put the link to the Q-tip test down below for you guys. I know I had one girl message me saying that she couldn't do the Q-tip test because the Q-tip didn't fit underneath her hood, and basically all I can say is you can defluff the Q-tip and just lubricate it a little bit and try it that way. They're basically looking more at the depth, not the width, because you need the depth for the piercing. So, I mean, I'll put the links in the down bar for you guys to go check out, and it'll explain everything a little bit better. Did you feel awkward having someone looking at your lady parts? Going into the piercing the first day, I don't know if I was more scared about the piercing itself or if I was more scared about being spread eagle in front of somebody that I didn't know, and having them touch me. But I had a female piercer. She was really good. She made me feel really, really comfortable. She talked to me. We joked around. We tried not to focus on everything that was going on down there because I didn't want to make myself more nervous. She didn't make me feel awkward at all. I think every piercer, whether it be a guy or a girl, they're going to make you feel comfortable. If they make you feel uncomfortable for any reason, then you probably shouldn't be getting a piercing from them. But you can guarantee that they've seen worse, and they've pierced this probably many, many times. It's not their first rodeo. You're not the first person that they've ever done this to. So you just have to keep that in mind, and just think of it as like you're going to the doctor. When girls go to get the gynecologist or anything like that, you don't really think, like, you think it's a doctor, it's professional. It's the same thing with piercers. They're professional. This is what they do. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And I know I'm really self-conscious, and I didn't really have an issue with it. So yeah, I guess it's just, I didn't feel awkward at all. You just have to remember they're professional. That's all I can really say. How do you clean it? I'm going to post another link in the down bar for you guys, explaining this a lot better. Basically, you can do a saltwater soak, sea salt soak. I use a shot glass when I do mine, and I just mix a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt with a little bit of warm water, and I soak it. I do that a couple of times a day, and I haven't had any issues. It brings down the swelling a lot for me, I noticed. Other than that, it's basically a self-cleaning piercing. It's the lowest maintenance piercing I've ever had, by far. Somebody had asked me, and they were really embarrassed about this question, but they said, does your period or peeing affect the piercing? From personal experience, period, it doesn't affect the piercing at all. Because of the location of the piercing, and when you have your period, it doesn't get in the way at all. It just doesn't. You should be familiar with your own anatomy to know that where the piercing is, and then when you have your period and where that comes from, they're not gonna get in the way of each other. And as far as going to the bathroom, urine is actually sterile to your body, so it actually helps clean the piercing. It doesn't affect the piercing at all. Obviously, just make sure you wipe properly, and be careful, because obviously there is a piercing in there. And other than that, no, it doesn't affect it at all. Why did you decide to get this piercing? I've wanted this piercing since I was about 18. I had the majority of my piercings before I turned 18, but this piercing I wanted so badly, and because I've wanted it for so long, I knew that I wanted it, but I never thought that I would have the courage to actually get it done. And then, like I said, I went in the day before I actually got the VCH piercing, and I got another female genital piercing, and it went horribly, and I was so traumatized by that I didn't think I would physically be able to get the VCH piercing after that because of the pain and how worked up I was. I didn't want anybody else in the room with me when I got the piercing, just because it was a comfort level for me. My boyfriend ended up coming in and essentially having to hold me down because he knew how badly I wanted this piercing. He knew that if I walked out those doors without this piercing, I would have regretted it, and I would have hated myself, and I would have wanted to go back eventually and get it done anyways. So he basically held me down and tried to comfort me while I was getting this piercing, and I think I hurt him, so I feel kind of bad. But I mean, it was worth it for me. Yeah, I mean, I got this piercing because it's something that I've wanted for a really, really, really long time. And I got it for myself. I didn't get it for anybody else. I didn't do it for my boyfriend. I didn't do it for anybody else. It's just something I wanted to do for myself. I've wanted this for a really long time, so that's why I decided to get it. A lot of people have asked me how much it costs, which is kind of an odd question because it just depends on where you are. I'm in Canada, in British Columbia, so I mean, prices are all going to be different. Doesn't matter where you go. No piercing shop is going to have all the exact same prices. I think I paid, we paid $85, and that was with the piercing and the jewelry and everything. I've also seen some people saying it was over $100 when they got it done. Some people, pay a lot less, like $60. It just depends where you go. So just definitely call around to get some prices and gain some knowledge about the piercers in your area. A lot of people have asked me if I brought a friend for support or if it would be awkward to bring a girlfriend or something for support. I didn't bring a friend for support. I mean, I brought my boyfriend with me, but I didn't want him in the room at first. And then, sorry, I have the hiccups. And then he ended up coming in anyways because I was partially chickening out. And he knew how badly I wanted the piercing. So he came in and supported me the best he could. And I'm so glad he did because I probably wouldn't have got it done if he wasn't in there. I probably would have just got up and left because I was so scared. And he calmed me down quite a bit, even though he doesn't think he did. But I would say definitely you can bring one of your girlfriends with you. I mean, you don't have anything they haven't seen before, so it's not going to be awkward. If you feel like you want to do it alone, then do it alone. But it's definitely nice to have somebody there to support you. Yeah. Does it bleed afterwards? It bled the day that I got it done. It did bleed a little bit, but you can wear like a panty liner or something and it'll be fine. It's usually just like a couple drops. It's just a very small amount. Nothing to worry yourself over. I did notice for the first about 3 or 4 days, it was kind of on and off, just bleeding just a tiny little bit. But other than that, I haven't had any problems with it. No more bleeding after the first couple of days. And it is normal to bleed a little bit. So don't worry about that. A lot of people have asked me when you can go and change your jewelry. Well, I'm waiting the full 8 weeks to go and change mine. I think they said that after 4 to 6 weeks you can go and change your jewelry, but I'm going to wait out the full 8 weeks just to make sure, trying to be safe. I don't want it to get irritated or anything like that, so... Okay, this is a question that I got that I wasn't even sure if I was going to answer, but I decided I was going to answer it anyways just because somebody had asked. And I want to try and answer all your questions. So somebody said, does or can the piercing snag on your partner's pubic hair? I personally haven't had this problem. I don't imagine that it would be a problem. I haven't had this problem, like I said. Yeah, I don't see that being an issue. I've actually never even heard of that. So, I mean, if it happens, it happens. I guess just be gentle, obviously, but I've never had this problem. I've never heard of this problem, so it's not like a common occurrence or anything. Was it worth it? If you would have asked me this question a week ago, I would have said no. Just because, like I said, I thought that I lost sensation down there. I thought I was desensitized because of the piercing, when in reality I was just scared to hurt the piercing. Therefore, I had less sensation just because of that, because I was so scared of it. But now it's definitely worth it. I definitely don't regret getting this piercing. I'm so glad that I got it. And yes, it was worth it. I actually haven't read or heard anybody who said that they do regret it. So yes, for me, it was worth it. A lot of people have asked me, do you have to shave to get this piercing? Like, do you have to shave before you go in for this piercing? No, you don't. Whether you shave, whether you trim, whether it's natural, whatever you do normally, you can go in and it's fine. I've asked this question to a piercer that I know, and I've asked them if that is an issue, and no. Whatever you do normally, you can do. You don't have to do anything special to go in for this piercing. And then the last question that I'm going to answer, because I'm already at 19 minutes, is why did you choose the vertical over the horizontal? Well, I choose the vertical just because, well, not just, but basically I had 2 reasons. The first reason was it's just more visually stimulating to me. I like the look of it a lot more than the horizontal. I just think it's cuter, it's nicer to look at. And of course the second reason is because it enhances sexual pleasure, arousal, everything like that, because the beads do rest on the clitoris, so it provides that stimulation. Whereas the horizontal goes side to side, so you have a bead on either side, or you have a ring or whatever, and it doesn't really do much for you. The horizontal is more just for the visual aspect of it. And I wanted to experience everything that this piercing had to offer. So that's why I ended up going with the vertical. And also because the vertical, because it is up and down, that's your body's natural shape anyways. So the healing is going to be a little easier. But yeah, I just like the look of it, and I really wanted to experience everything that this piercing had to offer, so I definitely went with the vertical because of that. I definitely don't regret it. I love it. If you guys have any more questions, you can post them in the down bar. I hope I helped you guys and answered some of your questions. If you have a question that you don't want to post in the down bar, you can always inbox me and I'll answer your questions right away. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys in my next video.